Anelle and Jihoon Part 47. Remember to subscribe and share to 5. Thank you very much. The sunlight hadn't yet risen when Anelle's eyes fluttered open. The bedroom was quiet. Too quiet. The soft hum of the baby monitor filled the silence, but something tugged at her, like an invisible thread around her heart. She sat up. Beside her, Jihoon was still asleep, one hand resting on the pillow where their baby usually lay during early morning feeds. But this morning, something felt wrong. She slid out of bed, heart already thudding. She moved toward the crib, tucked beneath a soft canopy draped in ivory silk. And then she froze. The baby was there, but his skin was flushed, too red, damp with sweat. She leaned in, placed her palm against his cheek, burning. Her breath caught. "Jihoon!" No answer. "Jihoon!" She cried louder, her voice cracking. He sat up instantly, eyes wild. "What? What is it?" Anelle was already lifting the baby into her arms. "He's hot. He's burning up. Jihoon, something's wrong." He was beside her in 2 strides, hand reaching for their son's forehead. His jaw tightened. "That's a fever." Anelle's arms trembled. "What if it's something worse? What if... Jihoon, what if..." Her voice broke, and suddenly she was sobbing. The kind of sobbing that shook her chest and made her knees buckle as she cradled their son against her. Jihoon wrapped his arms around them both. Don't panic. He's okay. He's going to be okay. It's just a fever." But his heart was hammering in his chest too. He had never felt so helpless. They called the doctor. Jihoon's voice was calm, sharp, commanding. But his eyes never left Anelle, never left their son's flushed face. They laid the baby between them on the bed. Anelle wiped his forehead again and again, whispering prayers through her tears. "I don't know what to do," she said. "I've never been so scared. What if something happens before the wedding? What if I lose him?" Jihoon pulled her in tighter. "You won't. Not him. Not you. I promise." An hour later, the doctor arrived. He examined the baby carefully, checked his breathing, his heart, his temperature. "A mild viral fever," he said finally, his voice gentle. "Common in infants. He'll be fine. Lots of fluids. Keep him cool." Rest Anelle burst into tears again. This time, relief. Jihoon thanked the doctor, but his voice cracked slightly. His hand didn't leave Anelle's back as she rocked the baby slowly, whispering, "Mommy's here. Mommy's here." 2 weeks before Jihoon's wedding, Seoul Taeho stepped into the cool, familiar air of Incheon Airport. His coat was slung over his shoulder, his face tanned from the Egyptian sun. But something in him was different now. He wasn't rushing through gates or hiding in silence. He walked with purpose. Back to Seoul, back to Jihoon, and soon, back to Nihal, who would arrive with her family in just 7 days. For the first time in his life, Taeho didn't feel like a man between countries. He felt like a man coming home. Jihoon waited in the front courtyard like a man about to meet an old piece of his soul. "You look like you left as a corporate wolf and came back as a desert poet." Taeho dropped his bags and opened his arms. "I brought sand and enlightenment, Hyung." They met halfway and hugged. No clapping backs, no awkward slaps. Just a long, heavy embrace between men who had held each other's secrets for years. "You smell like dust and jasmine," Jihoon muttered into his shoulder. Taeho laughed. "That's love, my friend. That's what it smells like." They pulled apart slowly. Jihoon studied his face. "You came back different." "I left in pieces," Taeho said. "But somehow, Cairo stitched me together." Jihoon nodded, his eyes soft. "Nihal? She's my mirror, Hyung. Beautiful and terrifying." Jihoon smirked. "She made you cry, didn't she?" "I sobbed like an unpaid intern on their 3rd espresso." They both burst into laughter. "Do you ever think," Taeho asked quietly, "what we would have become if none of this ever happened?" "Lonely," he said. "We'd be powerful, respected, and completely alone." Taeho nodded. "Then thank God for heartbreak, and broken planes, and sketchbooks in city parks, and flower-covered nurses with sharp tongues." Jihoon added with a grin. They both laughed again, loud and free. In that moment, there were no kings, no kingdoms, no shadows, just two brothers in love, finally at peace. The wedding will be in 2 weeks, and in a week, Nihal and her family will be here too. Tai-ho remained Jihoon. I need a bigger house in 2 days. I need to prepare for their arrival. The trial had been rescheduled a month later, and this gave the queen some time to hit the nail on the head. Beneath the surface, her shadow moved. He was one of the trusted, an older nobleman, loyal to the crown for decades. He had requested an audience under the guise of paying respect. But once inside her private drawing chamber, the curtains drawn, he bowed low and murmured, "They're growing louder." Support for the child and for Jihoon spreads quickly. The queen's jaw tensed. She didn't look at him, only poured herself tea with a grace so practiced it could slice through air. "I know," she said quietly. He hesitated. "If you wanted something done," her gaze flicked up, sharp. "Speak plainly." The man leaned closer, lowering his voice. "If you need someone inside, I have connections. I can help arrange it, but it must look like you had no part in it." The queen didn't answer at first. She took a sip, eyes distant. Then finally she nodded once. Then listened carefully. A few hours later, the call was placed. Quiet, encrypted, and direct. A maid answered from a dim corner of Jihoon's estate laundry room. Her fingers were stained with detergent, her eyes flickering with panic. "You're alone?" the nobleman's voice asked. "Yes, sir," she whispered. "You've served them how long?" 8 months. "Good. There's a girl arriving tomorrow. She'll be hired as a maid." Across the city in the lowest corridor of the detention center, a woman in handcuffs was escorted to what was supposedly a routine psychiatric evaluation. Yura. Her eyes remained empty but sharp, calculating, calm. The doctor waiting inside wasn't from the facility. The badge was forged. The manner too smooth. Minja's mother had spared no cost. 10 minutes later, the camera feed glitched. When the lights flickered back on, Yura was gone, along with the prison guard on duty. Yura boarded a private charter flight under a false name. She arrived in Thailand under the cover of dusk, her hair tied up, wearing oversized glasses, a scarf, and gloves, despite the heat. No fingerprints, no luggage. The airport cameras wouldn't match her to anything. She was a ghost. A black car waited for her, sent by Minji's mother. They drove for hours past the chaotic heart of Bangkok, then deeper, into the lush, hidden outskirts. Finally, they reached a high-walled estate tucked beneath dense palms. Inside, the air was thick with heat, antiseptic, and unspoken vengeance. Yura walked into the room and froze. Minjae lay on a reclining hospital bed, paler, thinner, but breathing. One side of his face sagged slightly. His mouth twisted when he tried to smile. Half his body no longer responded, but his eyes were sharp, furious. "Yura!" he rasped, voice hoarse but filled with something close to fire. "You came." She moved slowly toward him. "I thought you were gone." "I almost was," he croaked, "until I realized I had to stay alive. For them." A cold smile formed on his lips. His mother stood at the corner of the room, arms crossed. "Jihoon abandoned him," she said bitterly. "He was his brother, and he left him to rot." Yura's fists clenched. "He took everything. He made Anelle look like some divine angel, as if she's done nothing wrong. But I'll rewrite her story. Her face, her fate, everything." Minja's mother leaned closer. "You need to disappear," she said, "and reappear as someone new, someone untraceable, someone stunning." She pulled a manila folder from her bag and opened it. Inside, photographs, sketches, and plastic surgery plans. "Her,"